All right, buckle up, everybody, because today we are diving deep into the placebo effect. We're going to be exploring Dr. Joe Dispenza's book, You Are the Placebo. It's all about how powerful belief can be and how it can actually, affect our health.
Yeah, we're not talking like just some positive thinking mumbo jumbo. This is about real measurable effects.
Exactly, and Dr. Dispenza really backs it up with some fascinating science and research. But, to kick things off, I think the story of Sam Lond is a great place to start. This guy actually died from esophageal cancer. But here's the thing. The tumors they found during the autopsy, they were too small to have actually killed him.
Yeah, that case is, it really makes you think, how much are our perceptions actually shaping our reality? I mean, everyone around Mr. Lond, they were convinced that he was dying, including himself. And it seems like that belief may have actually been more powerful than the cancer itself.
It's kind of freaky, right? Like, if we believe something strongly enough, it can actually, manifest physically. Are there, other examples of this?
Oh, yeah. There's actually quite a few documented cases. For instance, there was a study where this man overdosed on placebo antidepressants.
Wait, hold on. Overdosed on a placebo? How's that even possible?
Well, he was part of a clinical trial, and, he started experiencing all the classic overdose symptoms. Low blood pressure, rapid pulse, the whole 9 yards. Until, get this, the researchers told him he was just taking sugar pills, and his symptoms vanished almost immediately.
Wow, so his body was reacting to what he thought he was taking, not what he was actually taking. It's kind of mind-blowing.
It really is. It really challenges our traditional understanding of how our minds and bodies interact. And, speaking of challenging conventions, have you heard about the knee surgery study?
Oh, yeah. The one where they performed sham surgery. And people still experienced relief.
That's the one. So they think patients with osteoarthritis, and they divided them into 3 groups. One group got actual arthroscopic knee surgery. Another group got a lavage, where they just rinsed out the joint. And then the third group, they got sham surgery.
Sham surgery, meaning?
They made an incision and stitched them up. That's it.
So essentially the third group underwent, a placebo procedure.
Exactly.
Yeah, what happened?
Okay, so the fascinating part is that all 3 groups, they all experienced similar levels of pain relief and improved mobility. Wow. And get this, the benefits persisted even years later.
Wow. So even something as invasive as surgery can be mimicked by the power of belief. What does that say about our ability to heal ourselves?
Right. It raises some pretty big questions. It suggests that our expectations, our beliefs, even the environment itself, can trigger really powerful physiological responses.
It's like the line between what's real and what we perceive to be real is just way more blurry than we think, So does this mean we can consciously tap into this power?
That's exactly what Dr. Dispenza explores in the book. And there's evidence that we can. Think about athletes who use mental rehearsal to improve their performance.
Yeah.
Visualizing the perfect shot or, the winning race. It's a technique that a lot of top performers use.
It's true. I remember reading about Aaron Rodgers, the quarterback. He talks a lot about how he attributes a lot of his success to meticulously visualizing every single play before it happens.
And then you have the legendary golfer, Jack Nicklaus. He always said that he never hit a shot without first creating a really detailed mental picture of it.
And didn't Jim Carrey visualize his success in Hollywood?
Absolutely. Years before he got his big break, he actually wrote himself a check for $10 million, and he dated it for a future date for acting services rendered. And guess what? When Dumb and Dumber hit the big screen, he received a check for that exact amount.
Oh, wow. No way.
Yeah, he quite literally manifested his dream into reality.
That's pretty incredible. But how does any of this actually work scientifically?
So when we repeatedly visualize ourselves doing something, performing an action, we're basically strengthening the neural pathways associated with that action. It's like our brains can't tell the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real one.
So it's almost like practice for our brains, like mental rehearsal.
Exactly. But what about things that feel more fixed, like our genes? Dr. Dispenza talks about epigenetics, which looks at how environmental factors can actually, switch genes on or off.
Wait, so our environment can change how our genes function?
That's the idea. And what's interesting is that it seems our thoughts and emotions might actually play a role in this too.
So you're saying our thoughts and emotions can be part of this environment that influences our genes?
Exactly. Our internal state can send signals that affect gene expression. It's not just our DNA that dictates our health and traits. It's this complex interplay between nature and nurture.
So we might have more control over our genetic destiny than we think. That's a pretty empowering concept.
It is. There's actually a study where men who were diagnosed with prostate cancer reversed the disease. Just
Hmm.
through making significant lifestyle changes, they basically changed their internal and external environments,
Yeah.
and their bodies responded.
Wow, that's pretty remarkable. It shows how interconnected everything is, our thoughts, our environment, our genes, everything. But what about stress? I mean, we all know that chronic stress is bad for us, but what's actually going on in our bodies when we're stressed out?
Well, chronic stress basically throws our bodies into this constant state of fight or flight. We're flooded with hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, which are great for handling, immediate threats, but not so much for long-term health.
Right, like that fight or flight response was probably super helpful when we were like running away from saber-toothed tigers, but not so much when we're stuck in traffic or dealing with deadlines.
Exactly.
So what are the long-term effects of all this stress?
So these stress hormones can actually disrupt cellular communication, weaken the immune system, and they can even impact how our genes are expressed.
Yeah.
It's like our bodies are too busy dealing with this perceived emergency to focus on repair and growth.
So modern life, with all its demands and pressures, is basically keeping us in a constant state of emergency, and it's taking a toll on our well-being.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. But here's the good news. We're not powerless. We can actually learn to consciously use the placebo effect to shift out of that stress state and reclaim our health.
Okay, now that's what I want to hear. So how do we actually do that? How can we harness this power for ourselves?
Well, Dr. Dispenza really emphasizes the importance of combining clear intention with elevated emotion. It's about creating a powerful internal experience that overrides our old programming.
Can you give us an example of this in action?
Yeah, there's this incredible story in the book about Lori, a woman who actually healed her brittle bones through meditation and visualization.
Healed her brittle bones. That's amazing. What was her story?
Well, Lori, she had this rare genetic bone disorder. It's called fibrous dysplasia.
Yeah.
And, she had experienced multiple fractures throughout her life. And she was actually living with chronic pain and limited mobility.
It sounds so tough.
Yeah, it was really challenging for her.
So how did she, turn things around?
So she really dedicated herself to a daily practice of meditation and visualization. She would, vividly imagine her bones healing and really focus on the sensations of strength and flexibility in her body.
So she was creating this powerful internal experience of healing, and her body actually responded to it.
Yeah, exactly. She was able to shift her state of being from one of, weakness and pain to one of wholeness and vitality. And her body just, mirrored that shift.
It's amazing, it's like, what are the limits of this power? We've all heard these stories that seem almost like supernatural. Like, have you heard about the Indonesian boy eating glass?
Oh, yeah, that's a classic one.
It's crazy. How do we even begin to explain that?
Well, it definitely challenges our conventional understanding of reality.
Hmm.
While it might seem impossible, Dr. Dispenza suggests that these individuals might be tapping into a state of deep suggestibility.
Okay, remind me, how does suggestibility work again?
So suggestibility is basically the ability to accept and believe in an idea or outcome, without overanalyzing it. You kind of bypass that critical analytical mind and allow the subconscious to take over.
So it's like those people who get hypnotized, and they're convinced that an ice bath is actually a jacuzzi.
Exactly. Their subconscious mind accepts that suggestion is true, and it overrides their physical senses.
So in the case of, the trance dancers, their belief in the protective power of the spirits is so strong that it actually creates a physiological change and allows them to, ingest glass without getting hurt.
Yeah, that's one possible explanation.
Yeah.
It really highlights the importance of understanding the different levels of our minds, like the conscious, the analytical, and the subconscious.
Right. So to really create lasting change, we need to work with the subconscious, the part of our mind that's holding on to our, deepest beliefs and programming. But how do we even access that?
Well, that's where practices like meditation and visualization come in. They allow us to quiet that analytical mind and tap into the subconscious.
So it's about shifting from a state of constant thinking and analyzing to a state of being, of just observing and experiencing.
You got it. And in that state of pure awareness, you could start to actually reprogram your beliefs and perceptions.
Yeah.
Dr. Dispenza, he actually provides a really detailed four-step meditation process in the book to kind of guide people through this.
Oh, I'm really curious about this four-step process. Can you give us a little sneak peek into how it works?
Sure. So the first step is called induction, and it's all about slowing down your brain waves and getting into a more relaxed state.
So it's like training your mind to be more like a still pond. instead of a choppy sea.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
Then you move into the second step. It's called moving beyond the analytical mind. And this is where you detach from your thoughts
Yeah.
and you enter this state of pure awareness.
That sounds both incredibly challenging and incredibly liberating.
It is. It really is. And then you move into the third step, which is called entering the operating system. This is where, like, the magic happens. You can actually start to reprogram your subconscious beliefs and perceptions.
So it's like you're accessing the control panel of your mind, and you can, like, rewrite the code.
Exactly. And then finally, the fourth step is called creating a new state of being. This is where you embody the reality that you want. You know, feeling the emotions and the sensations as if it's already happening.
Wow, so it's this gradual process of, like, shifting your awareness and your energy to create lasting change. It's not just about thinking positive thoughts. It's about experiencing those thoughts as reality on a deep subconscious level.
You nailed it. And the more you practice this process, the easier it becomes to access those deeper levels of your mind and harness the power of the placebo effect.
This is starting to feel like way bigger than just treating physical ailments, you know? It's about, like, unlocking our full potential as creators of our own reality.
Absolutely. Dr. Dispenza, he believes that by consciously using the placebo effect, we can actually transform not just our bodies, but our relationships, our careers, our lives as a whole.
That's amazing. But before we get, like, too carried away with all the possibilities, let's bring it back to the science for a second. You mentioned the quantum model of reality earlier. Can you explain what that is and how it relates to all of this?
Sure. So the quantum model, it basically challenges that classic Newtonian view of a fixed material world. It suggests that reality is actually more fluid and that all possibilities exist at the same time in what's called the quantum field.
Okay, I've heard about, like, this quantum stuff, but it's always seemed so abstract and theoretical to me. Like, how does it actually apply to our everyday lives?
Well, it suggests that our observation and intention actually play a role in collapsing these possibilities into reality. We're not just passive observers, you know, we're active participants in shaping our own experience.
So they're not just limited by, like, our past or our genes or our circumstances. We have the power within us to actually create a new reality.
That's the really exciting implication of this model. It challenges us to, like, reconsider our role in the universe and embrace the power we have to influence our own destinies.
Wow, this whole conversation has been, like, seriously mind-expanding. We've gone from, like, sham surgeries to quantum physics, all to try to understand this, like, incredible power of the mind over the body.
And we've only just scratched the surface. Dr. Dispenza's book really dives into the neuroscience, the practical techniques, and all those real-life stories in a lot more detail.
I definitely recommend checking it out. But before we wrap up this deep dive, you had a thought-provoking question for our listeners to ponder.
I do. What if you truly believed that you are the placebo? What could you heal? What could you create?
That's a powerful question. We encourage you to explore You Are the Placebo, to learn more and start tapping into this incredible power within yourself.
It's a journey worth taking.
It's wild, right? To think that something as simple as belief can have such a huge impact on our, like, physical reality. You know, we started talking about that man whose beliefs, or I guess the beliefs of those around him, might have actually, like, contributed to his death. And now we're talking about people eating glass and reversing diseases by, you know, changing their lifestyle.
It really shows you just how malleable reality is. And the power of the human mind is just incredible. You know, we're not just, like, victims of our circumstances. We're active participants. We shape our own experiences.
Totally. And it seems like the key to tapping into this power is learning how to work with our subconscious minds, right? Like through that 4-step meditation process Dr. Dispenza talks about. Could you walk us through that again? I want to make sure everyone listening has the tools to, like, start exploring this themselves.
Of course. So step 1 is induction. Like we said, this is where you focus on slowing down your brain waves. You want to get into a more relaxed state. It's kind of like shifting from a state of doing to a state of just being.
Like hitting the pause button on all the mental chatter and just being present in the moment.
Exactly. And once you've found that stillness, you move into step 2, moving beyond the analytical mind. So here you detach from your thoughts and you just enter a state of pure awareness.
So instead of getting caught up in the stories our minds are always telling us, we just, like, notice them without judgment.
Yep, that's it. You become the witness to your thoughts instead of letting them control you. And from this place of detached awareness, you can move into step 3, entering the operating system.
This is where it gets really cool. It's like you're accessing the control panel of your subconscious.
Exactly. In this state, you can actually start to reprogram your beliefs and perceptions. Like, you can identify any limiting beliefs that are holding you back, and you can replace them with more empowering ones.
So it's not just about like positive thinking, it's about actually rewiring those deep-seated patterns, the ones that are always running in the background of our minds.
You got it. And then finally, step 4 is where you create a new state of being. You embody the reality you want, feeling the emotions and sensations as if it's already happened.
So you're basically creating a visceral experience of your desired outcome, engaging all your senses, feeling it on a deep emotional level.
Exactly. And the more you practice this process, the more you're strengthening those neural pathways, the ones that are associated with the reality you want. You're basically training your mind and body to operate from a new set of beliefs and expectations.
It's amazing to think we have the ability to like rewrite our internal programming and create such powerful change in our lives. This whole conversation has really been eye-opening for me.
I'm glad to hear that. And remember, this is just the beginning. Dr. Dispenza's book really goes into a lot more detail on these concepts. He offers a bunch of practical exercises and techniques, too, to help you actually apply these principles in your own life.
So if you're listening, definitely pick up a copy of You Are the Placebo. It's a really fantastic book. And remember, the power to heal, to grow, to create the life you want, it's all within you. You truly are the placebo.
You said it.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. We'll see you next time. And until then, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep believing in the amazing power you have within you.